Yeah, so another crazy thing that I had no idea about, but everybody, even Democrats actually admit this, that the census in 2020 had a major statistical error. And what that meant is that you actually undercounted a few states that are Republican, like Florida and Ohio. You overcounted some blue states. And so what I understand, if you actually did the census anew right now, you would have 10 additional Republican seats and 9 fewer Democrat seats. And really what we're living with, Maria, is the consequence of 40 years of institutional control in the Democratic Party. These guys have fought very dirty for a very long time, and they haven't just won elections and enacted laws that we may not agree with. They have tried to rig the game for Democrats and against Republicans. And thankfully, under President Trump's leadership, you finally see some spine. You finally see some backbone in the Republican Party to fight back against these very aggressive Democratic dirty tricks. But the only way for us to do it is to actually go and do the hard work to reset the scales a little bit. What we want to do is redo the census, but importantly, we want to redistrict some of these red states, and we want to make the congressional apportionment fair in this country. Again, you cannot do it unless Republicans actually take some very decisive action in the months to come. We think they will, and we're obviously supporting them every step of the way.
But do you worry that as Republicans do that, the Democrat blue states are going to do the same thing, and then you'll have redistricting in California, New Jersey, and so on?
You know, Maria, there's just not a whole lot of juice left out of that lemon. The Democrats have already gone as far as they possibly can. Let me give you a crazy statistic. So I believe that it's in New Jersey, Illinois, New York, California, and there's one other Democrat state where you take those 5 states, you have a large number of Democrat representatives. But here's the crazy statistic. President Trump won 43% of those 5 states, and Democrats have something like 85% of the representatives out of those states. You cannot gerrymander these far left states anymore, and that's the whole point. We have unilaterally disarmed in the Republican Party. We have said to the Democrats, if you want to rig the game in your favor in blue states, go ahead. We're going to do nothing to fight back against it. That's crazy. It makes it harder for us to pass our agenda. It makes it harder for us to win elections. And most importantly, it gives Democrats this ability to run roughshod over the country without any pushback from the American people. The democratic system in this country is broken because who you vote for doesn't necessarily get reflected in who your representatives are. We're just trying to rebalance the scales and, frankly, push back against a very unfair system created by the Democrats.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, couldn't have been said any better. So we got to talk about J.B. Pritzker, who was the governor of Illinois, because he recently went on to NBC Meet the Press with Kristen Welker. And let me tell y'all something. I am thoroughly shocked at what took place in this interview, because there was actually some journalism going on. Some decently fair, not completely, but decently fair journalism going on. And I want to read this comment from this video. This comment is the top comment on the video. It says, it's actually newsworthy that an NBC journalist asked a legitimate question of a Democrat politician. Here's the next comment. Thank you for finally challenging a Democrat on their hypocrisy. This is the first interview I've seen in literally years that was a good interview where the interviewer actually pushed the Democrat for an answer and didn't just let him get away with their own democracy is at stake BS. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Actual journalism from NBC? Did I die and go to heaven? Wow. So, yeah, as you guys can see, this was actually a decently good interview. Was it perfect? No, but let's jump into it because J.B. Pritzker got put into a corner, and I want y'all to see how he tries to squirm out of that thing.
Take a listen to what Texas Governor Greg Abbott told my colleague Ryan Chandler about that. Take a look.
What's your message to governors like Newsom, Hochul, Pritzker, who have said they will retaliate if Texas does this?
They have no capability. They've already gerrymandered their states in ways in which they don't have hardly any Republican members of Congress. Look at the map of Illinois. It's drawn in such a way that they can't even squeeze out another Republican. It's a joke.
What's your response to Governor Abbott?
Well, Governor Abbott is the joke. He's the one who is attempting this decade here at a time when, frankly, all of us are concerned about the future of democracy. He's literally helping whittle it away and licking the boots of his leader, Donald Trump. Here in Illinois, we followed the law. We provided a map and passed a map that follows the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Illinois. He's attempting to thwart federal law and take away 5 seats that are in the hands of black, brown, minority congresspeople and the people that they represent. He's taking those votes away. He's violating the Constitution. And all of us need to stand up and speak out and make sure that it's understood across the country that what they're trying to do in Texas is illegal.
Well,
hold on. Before she gets to what she's saying, notice he didn't address what Governor Abbott said. He said there's no juice left to squeeze. They've already done it. You can't squeeze out another Republican in the state of Illinois. There's only 3. There's only 3. It's 18-3 in a state that basically voted a little over 40% for Trump. Actually, I believe Illinois was like over 45, if I remember correctly. So a state that's basically 50-50, more or less 50-50. I think it's within 5 points of 50-50. You have 3 Republican representatives versus 18 Democrats. How does that even make sense? How does it even make sense? It doesn't at all. And he did not address that fact that Greg Abbott said about them not being able to take out any more Republicans because they can't. So he can try to, well, you know, our states, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fight for democracy. Yeah, okay. You were fighting for democracy when you gerrymandered your entire state to try to squeeze out as many Republicans as possible. But now you're panicking because you realize, well, we don't have anything left to really do. I mean, we might be able to get 1 here and maybe 2 over there, but that's about it. Republicans, they can gain like 15. That's why they're panicking.
Governor, it might be illegal. It's not unprecedented, though, or it might be rare, I should say. But Texas actually tried to redraw districts mid-decade before in 2003, and the U.S. Supreme Court actually upheld the map in that case with the exception of 1 district. So the argument that Abbott is making is it's not illegal, though they are doing it certainly in an off year. But I do want to look at the map of Illinois. Let's take a look at this. Despite President Trump winning 44% of the statewide vote in 2024, Republicans hold only 3 of Illinois' 17 districts.
Oh, excuse me. So I had the number wrong. It's 3-14, not 3-18. Excuse me. My apologies. But look at this map. Look at this. Look at this. What kind of district is this? What is that? What is that? Same thing with this. Like, what is this? Like, huh? It makes no sense. It's the same thing up here. You see this one, like, snaking around in the sea. Like, what is going on with that? They ain't got nothing left to squeeze out.
These districts seem to be designed to maximize Democratic advantage. What do you say to those who argue that it's hypocritical for you to criticize Texas for partisanship when your state also drew maps to boost your party's standing?
Well, remember that what Texas is trying to do is, again, violate the Voting Rights Act. We didn't. We held public hearings, legislative hearings. People attended them. They spoke out. There was a map that was put out. There were actually changes made to the map, and a map was passed. And it was done at the end of the census, the decennial census. So that's how it's done in this country. You talked about how rare it is to do what he's doing. Yes, it is. What's even rarer is to do it at the behest of the President of the United States, who's clearly attempting to and says that he deserves to have 5 more seats. He's wrong. And he's attempting to change the game because, again, he passed this big, ugly bill. It's hyper unpopular in Texas, among people in Texas and across the country. And he knows he's going to lose the Congress in 2026. That's why he's going to his allies and hoping that they can save him. And we've all got to stand up against this. It's cheating. Donald Trump is a cheater. He cheats on his wives. He cheats at golf. And now he's trying to cheat the American people out of their votes.
Well, look, sticking on your state's map, every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction. The reality is that the violation of people's voting rights is what Texas is attempting to do. That's what's wrong with their efforts right now. And the fact that the president of the United States knows it and nevertheless is asking them to do it. That is what's wrong with what we're seeing right now. Democracy is at stake, and these Texas Democrats are standing up to what the GOP is attempting to do, which is to steal seats because they know what they've done is wrong. They know that they've made an enormous mistake.
Let's turn now to foreign policy, Governor, and the crisis in Gaza.
Yeah, so you heard him try to circumvent the question, and he didn't exactly completely answer it. I do respect the fact that she kind of called him out. Now, it could have been done better by stopping him in the middle of his rant. Protect democracy, that nonsense, and correct him and say, yo, you're doing the exact same thing. You have done the exact same thing. Your route to doing the same thing might have been a little different, but the result is the same. You gerrymandered your state. In a state that votes nearly 50-50, you have 3 Republicans to 14 Democrats. That doesn't make any sense. And if you look at this map, it clearly shows that you drew this map was drawn intentionally to try to squeeze as many Democrat seats as possible out of this entire state. So stop going with the protect democracy and address the fact that you've done the exact same thing. The result is still the same. Doesn't matter how you got there, right? The result is the same. It's like, never mind. I was about to say something crazy, but the result is the same, right? So, and that's not something that they're willing to address, nor is them having nothing left to squeeze out of the map. There's no more Republicans that you could take off. You've already taken off as many as humanly possible, so you're cooked. And that's why you see them out here panicking so much, because they know Republicans only stand to gain massive numbers if Republicans do the same thing that they have done, and Democrats have maybe a few seats that they can squeeze out of it. And if Republicans do it in return, right? If we do the same thing in Texas, do the same thing in Florida, do the same thing in Ohio, right? J.D. Vance was just in Indiana. I mean, those 4 states alone, we're talking 15, 16 extra Republican seats. One of those seats that would be flipped is Jasmine Crash Out Crockett. Jasmine Crash Out Crockett could be out of Congress, bro. That's hilarious. I would love to see that because she is annoying. Makes for great content, right? Gives me something to talk about from time to time, but she is absolutely terrible. But anyway, so 16-3, right? All right, well, Republicans gain 3 because, the 3 cancels out 3 Republicans. So Republicans gain 13. That is massive. That is huge. That is huge. And honestly, the more Republican seats that we have, the more that the rhinos are going to have to get in line and fall in line. Because they're going to realize, well, we don't have the numbers to push back against this, right? And we can also start threatening them politically, not physically, politically, by saying, hey, we'll just throw a Democrat in your seat. We don't care, right? The Lisa Murkowskis of the world, the Susan Collins, right? The Maine and the Alaskas. We can just say, hey, instead of voting for you, we'll just let a Democrat win. Doesn't matter to us. We still gonna have a massive majority. Now, do I want a Democrat to win? Absolutely not. But I'm just saying it opens up even more possibilities because right now we have such a slim majority. It's kind of like, well, we gotta kind of keep you there because you're kind of a Republican, but but we have a majority of 10 plus. Yeah, we can get rid of you. Let a Democrat take your seat. I don't care. We're not voting for you. Bye. So unless you want to stay, then you better, if you want to stay, then you better fall in line. If not, we're just going to let a Democrat take your seat. And at that point, we can actually make that threat and be serious about it and stand on it because it doesn't mean much to us. We got a majority. Once again, and I want to make it this clear. Do I want a Democrat to win and take Lisa Murkowski's seat? No, but it opens up that possibility to where we can get her to fall in line. Same thing with Susan Collins, John Cornyn, John Thune, right? All of these different folks, we can start to stand up against them even more. So that's just my humble opinion on it. Y'all get in the comments. Let me know what you think about it. Do you want to see this happen? Are you excited to see this happen? I know I am. I love that Trump is actually pushing back and attempting to do the same things that the Democrats have done. And I love that J.D. Vance is repeating the same thing. I think the Republican Party is in great hands if we get J.D. Vance come 2028. He's actually making me proud. I was a little shaky on J.D. Vance. I'm gonna be honest. I still am a little bit shaky on him, but he's definitely I'm gaining more and more confidence in J.D. Vance as time goes on. But are you? Let me know. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.